Palantir tweeted, fewer cancellations, faster treatment, improved outcomes. We're proud to support NHS England. And then they have some article, and it says the Chelsea and Westminster pilot has so far received over 55% reduction of bookings canceled on the day due, and patients with suspected cancer had their first appointment on average 2 days sooner. I know we've been talking about this for a couple of weeks, but I think we can all definitively say we're getting the NHS deal. I mean, if they're publicly tweeting these stats and adding NHS England, seems like that's why they backed out of the debate. Is there any doubt in our minds that we don't land this contract?
I don't think so. I think they'll get it, actually. You're absolutely right. They're putting up a lot of information about it, whether that's just specifically to encourage PR. Yeah, I think the NHS has seen value in it. All the talking points that the woke people on Foxglove side of things, their narrative is slowly being destroyed over what Palantir is actually doing. The fact that Palantir is in Ukraine, it probably helps a lot too. So yeah, I think I'm seeing a lot of pushback from a lot of people. See, these people at Foxglove and companies like that, they really overplayed their hand with a lot of their criticism of doing things. And that's just not them. It's around the world. Like everyone is waking up to the George Soroses of the world saying, look, this guy is literally interfering with democracy. Like I know in India, people hate him,
Really?
because he came out against like India's like PM and stuff, prime minister, huh? Modi, yeah. He said that, oh, this guy's a fascist and all this other stuff, and that, and like it's funny because India is very, very, like, it's doing really well right now under Modi and the leadership that Modi's providing. So, yeah, a lot of people are very, like, India's aspirations have grown considerably, and then this guy comes in like Western. Like the one thing you don't do to Indian people, you don't lecture us. The minute you start lecturing us, we'll fucking tear you a new one. All right, we're not your pawn. So right now, there's like this whole drive in India, like just because some old white guy in the West comes out and says, "Oh, your prime minister is a bad guy. You need to vote him out." Indians don't like. They'll be like, "Shut the fuck up! Like we know who we got. You need to back the fuck off." So, I think guys like Soros and everything else who's trying to influence things around the world to their ideas, they're being challenged all over. So hopefully that kind of thinking keeps propagating.
I will say one of the things that has been beneficial is I think you're right. I think they overplayed the Foxglove hand where they got too political too fast, right? It wasn't like, hey, let's be steady about it. And it was just like there was so much articles, so much news, so much press. And I feel like at this point it's, how the news is. They hang on to something for a month or two and then they kind of move on to something new. And I think with that, the longer the delay that you see in the awarding or just no announcement at all is going to be positive, because what I think that they're trying to do is get people to worry about the next new thing before they formally announce it, because there are still going to be some people that are hungover about it and very upset. But I think the majority of people will probably gravitate towards whatever the next big thing is that they can sink their teeth into to truly be upset about. So the fact that they haven't announced it yet does give me a little bit of concern, but I'm like 90-10 that they're going to get the contract. And I think that's going to be massively beneficial, huge tailwind for the stock, not just because of the 450 or 500 million that it's going to be in terms of revenue over 5 years, but just the things that we talked about last week, right? The benefits of seeing a national healthcare system with, tens of millions of people being supported by being something that could be for all of Europe to use, for all the United States to use. It'll be the first big showcase, because everyone knows the UK's health system is just completely effed up. And if they are able to turn it around like they already have, then easy.
I'm surprised that Foxglove and companies that are literally backed by George Soros are even welcomed in the UK, considering that he almost destroyed their economy. Like, why would you want to listen to someone like that?
Because he does it through other people, right? He's a puppet.
Yeah,
but he funds Foxglove, right? It's not him talking; it's Foxglove talking.
Yeah, but see, the thing is, like, people just should wake up to the idea that there are people right now out there that have vast amounts of money, that their entire reason for doing things is for personal gain, but they're doing it through political, like, okay, we're dealing with the same thing in the US. Like a lot of these DAs that George Soros is backing. I'm not a
Oh, we
Republican
getting
about
into
that.
this?
No, it's worth talking about, because what's happening is the lax policies that these district attorneys who at the local level are making decisions that are very, very dangerous to, to people, and basically crime's gone up tremendously, and there's a lot of issues that are happening, and a lot of these candidates are backed by people like George Soros, who fundamentally don't have a desire to see the well-being of the people. His whole thing
What
is,
is his
my job is to
motivation?
make money.
Why has George Soros been the guy he's been the past?
I mean, in my opinion, he always takes bets against countries at the highest levels. And what happens is, if you destabilize a country, you can make a lot of money off of it, right?
What?
So
How?
that's
How?
so imagine right now you're shorting certain parts of the economy, right? You want the country to go down so that this way you make a profit from it, right? You invest in companies that you basically the whole strategy is a very similar thing to what Blackstone does, where Blackstone has money set up on the side. They will let the market crash, like the housing market. 2008 happens, everyone is suffering, everyone is, going, like losing their homes, and Blackstone is celebrating. Why? Because they have all this capital that they use to buy up all these homes. So right now, if you look in the United States, they're like one of the largest portfolio owners of housing around the country, and they own all sorts of multifamily, and even single family residential housing. And we're looking at a crisis of housing right now. And what is Blackstone doing? They're celebrating on their investor calls, like, oh, our assets are generating additional blah blah blah. Yet at the same time, they're literally advocating for evicting people out of their homes because they didn't pay like an extra 20% rent increase. Like it's really bad. And right now, it was the same thing all over again when the pandemic happened. When the pandemic happened, people were losing their homes and everything else. And Blackstone jumped in once again and bought more homes. So it's like, it's this World Economic Forum ideas, some of them, that like you'll own nothing and you'll be happy about it, where the entire goal of a person is conformity, and you should just literally be happy with what we give you. Like,
well, the thing that's really weird about this whole you own nothing and be happy about it, the logical extent of that argument is the deconstruction of capitalism, because the whole nature of ownership is that you work for something, you own it. If they want to get people to stop owning stuff, buying the car, buying the house, whatever, it means you want the economy to stop growing. If people don't buy shit and own shit, the economy doesn't grow, right? Businesses can't make money if people aren't buying stuff. Do you think they are against capitalism writ large? And here's the more interesting question, Chris, how can George Soros, who's made billions of dollars off of capitalism, be against capitalism?
Because it's his capitalism. Like, you want to do things your way, where if it's almost like me trying to screw you over so that you have to come to me for help, right? And then I help you, but I'm going to put strings attached on it. You know what I mean? So it's his very own brand of capitalism that he's trying to propagate around the world, rather than the capitalism of the individual free nations doing what they have to do to, to advance themselves. Anytime you see a country, especially, I think his idea is, and this resonates with like the open societies things, that we should just be like one open society where there should be no individualism. There shouldn't be any countries. Like, United States shouldn't exist. It should just be like one giant open border where everyone could come in. And, that concept, I guess, is something that's idealistic, but it doesn't work. Like, humans need individual freedoms to make decisions. I think that's what we should be aspiring for, to like liberate people from stupidity. Not, okay, you need to follow a certain set of rules and that's it.
So you think Soros is funding these like anti-capitalist ideals and campaigns so that he can get people to come back to him and just make more money? Like, at the end of the day, it's a money grab for him, is what you're saying.
I don't think they're anti-capitalist. I think it's what Chris said. It's his form of capitalism,
which is what, authoritarian capitalism,
trying to keep people poor so that they, like, you think about it. If you invest, you are dangerous, right? You can then make your own decisions. You have that. So what they really want is
that's a fire line, though. If you invest, you are dangerous. That's a fire line.
If you invest, you're dangerous. Like, if you have the ability to take your life into your own hands, you are dangerous. What they want is sheep. What they want is people that can't think for themselves. And I was thinking about this the other day. I was just driving home and I was like, I wonder how much happier I'd be if I was a sheep. Like I just looked on CNN or any of these major news networks and just believed everything that was coming out of their mouth with no bias or no concept of perspective and bias and everything like that, and just blanketly listen to it. But you have to realize that every single news network is owned by a billionaire that is trying to feed you their version of capitalism or their version of what they think is right in the world. And at the end of the day, if you keep these cities dangerous, you keep them poor, you keep them the urban cultures poor, then you're just going to keep them on the fact that they're not going to invest, they're not going to create, they're going to be people that are reliant on the others to be able to live their day-to-day life. They're going to stay paycheck to paycheck, and they can't disrupt the normalities of things. And that's what George wants. He doesn't. Why do you think George is really upset? It's because he's probably able to profit somehow off the NHS taking forever. He probably has some fingers in there, some company that he owns. And if Palantir gets there, they're going to be like, why are you guys using this? It's super inefficient. Well, it's super inefficient because it probably costs capital and gives that capital to Soros, or it's a company that Soros uses, or what have you.
So he's not against
when you have
innovation.
the Palantirs of the world come in and start changing things up, you're not just changing the company's culture. You're changing everybody. You have to think, how many of these companies spend billions upon billions of dollars, and who are their vendors, and who are these alternative people that they use? It really starts to put a damper on things when you start to realize, taking steel from Mexico to drill an oil well in the Gulf of Mexico probably passes through 3 to 4 different people's hands who mark up everything 20%.
Right.
And it's like, if you were to buy it directly, you'd probably save 80%. But at the same time, it might take more time, or who knows. It's something like that, right? You cut the middleman out, people aren't going to be very happy with you. So I think that's kind of where George Soros is.
So he's not against innovation. He's against innovation that screws him over. Because Palantir is innovative, but it screws his ideas over at the end of the day, or the investments that he has. Because he's made his money off investing in things that are disruptive or innovative at the end of the day, right? He was an original investor in Palantir.
One of the things that, if you want to take the thing off, I mean, I'm not going to put this entire thing on, but basically one of the things that he argues against is that America should not be at the vanguard of leading the world. Like, he's actually come out and said, this was almost 15 years ago, but he's held true to that, where he's actually said outright, like, there shouldn't be sovereignty. There should just be like a world government where everyone is just equal. Now, in idealistic principally, that does sound right, but that also means that we as Americans, we're at a much higher level of income, we're at a much higher level of comfort, which was hard fought.
Even ideally, that doesn't make, exactly. That ideally, that's not even idealistic, because the Chinese don't believe in individual rights, right? They believe in communism. So how can all of us get together without having a border if we fundamentally cannot find agreement? That's the whole point.
That's the thing, and that's the reason why it's stupid for guys like him to say, look, my goal is to take down, go ahead, try to take down China, see what happens to you. He won't do that. He'll be like, no, that's okay. Like, I don't want to, like, he knows who not to mess with, but he will mess with the US, he'll mess with Europe. And it's just like I said, overall, the guy, a lot of people are waking up to his brand of politically getting involved. And
why is he so different from Stanley Druckenmiller, even though that was his mentor, right?
Well, yeah, and I think they had a falling out at one point, because the Druckenmiller is more about opportunistically making money, but not like, okay, I'm going to make it at other people's expense. His thing is, I am going to make money by finding discrepancies in the market where people don't see value and invest in it. And I can't say for certain that Druckenmiller doesn't have the same idea, but Druckenmiller is not nearly as politically motivated to do these other things. Like, George Soros is way more into politics via his nonprofits than someone like Druckenmiller. And this is also a problem. Unfortunately, this is one of the issues that you tend to deal with democracies. Like, if I always go back to the Roman Republic, because the Roman Republic is the ideal area to try to do comparisons. So when certain people get into too much power around the world and around the country, they have the ability to use their power to make changes that are often very negative for the country as a body politic as a whole, but benefits them considerably. So if you look at the Roman Republic, there were definitely wealthy landowners that would get things through in the Senate that would benefit them personally, but would hurt overall Rome. And so if you look at like Julius Caesar, I know everyone is always like, tends to be negative about Julius Caesar when it comes to like him taking over the Republic, but he actually did really well for the plebeians who were like the bottom people. Like he really did a lot for them. And a lot of the people that were his killers, they were aristocrats who like, oh, you're the one like causing democracy the Republic to go down. Like you're taking away power from these rich senators, but most of them were just aristocrats that wanted to make decisions for Rome based on their personalized, idealized version. So they killed Caesar. Like I said, I'm digressing too much, but it's a very similar thing where right now, if you stand up and you say, look, America should work for America, you're automatically a target. Like, no, that's wrong for you to say. You can never be, you shouldn't be proud of your country. Like this new message that I'm seeing everywhere that doesn't make any sense. Like, why is America so proud? Like, dude, we're the country that liberated you guys, like the world from the fucking Nazis. The US does the most amount of charity in the entire world. It's nuts that so many people are critical of America, and some people at this point are even welcoming fucking China. Like, oh my God, I hope China takes over because the US is this greedy imperialist. Like, okay, you want to welcome the guys that will fucking like put you in a gulag for having different thoughts. Go ahead, welcome them in. See how things work out.
Yeah, I think I was watching some. I won't say specific because it's not really the important piece, but basically this politician was basically saying America's kind of put themselves in the position to be the vanguard of democracy and freedom kind of going forward. Like, and you think about it, we're the ones that were able to say, okay, we showed up late to the party in World War II, but we're the ones that finished it. We're the ones that put, NAFTA into place. We're the ones that put all these NATO's in place. We were the ones that kind of were like the forefront of these things, and we're the kind of the holders of that. And so really what Palantir is trying to do, to kind of bring it back to full circle to what Chris was saying, is Palantir is trying to save Rome.
Yeah.
Palantir is literally just trying to make sure that the data and the storytelling gets out of the hands of the billionaires, and the data is actually visible. The data can actually be used by individual companies to make the decision, not the people at the very top who have the ability to make the little puppets and be able to, the 200 people in the world that actually run it. It's taking power away from them. And it's a very dangerous company. That's why Soros is after it. That's why a lot of people are. That's why same reason why Elon got so much crap for running Twitter. And buying Twitter, because he was taking power away from.
They open sourced the algorithm today. I mean, it's all out there, friend. You can literally see the code. No, it's amazing.